Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to the next episode of Martial Logic. What we want to talk to you today about is communication. It's something that often, gets, overlooked, and and I think it plays a big role in, obviously, people's learning. Um, eh, in the business that we do, we wear a lot of different hats. We do, stuff, where, you go from like warrior to educator to sometimes babysitter to accountant to everything else. And, we have a lot going on. One of the things that, folks like myself, that are in this industry, that, have, different goals of educating the public and helping the public to be safer. We love knowledge, and we study and we research all the time to come up with better ways and better ideas to protect you. And sometimes when we do that, we kind of become self defeating. And and I'll give you an example, and then kind of talk about it a little bit more, so you understand it. We're going to talk about the example I'm going to give is what they call logical fallacies, and logical fallacies. The definition of that for our purposes right now is not important, but the things I'm going to give you are examples of it. So let's say that I was having a conversation with someone, and the argument they were making was, a slippery slope, and when you pointed it out to them, they instead of coming around, they created a straw man and started fighting it. And when that didn't work, they just went all ad hominem. They just went ad hominem right on it. Okay, some of you are sitting out there and you know what I'm talking about. But a large majority um, of the people watching this have no freaking idea what I just said. They have no idea. And that's the problem. We learn all these terms and everything, and we lose the ability to communicate them to other people. And when we lose that ability, we become useless and irrelevant because those are the people that we're trying to help. They're not out studying this stuff, and I'll talk a little bit about that more in a second. I want to try to keep this one, fairly short, but those terms aren't relevant to them because we haven't established that relevance to them. You need to explain what that means. You need to take a little bit extra time and explain things to make sure that everyone understands them. You see it in the scientific community a lot with people like actor Alan Alda creating the Center for Communicating Science at Stony Brook University in New York, because you have these brilliant people that have these great stories to tell that could help a lot of people, but they don't know how to talk to anybody. They can't communicate to the person that actually needs the knowledge that they did all the research and the work to attain. Um, and I want to say, first of all, no one should ever apologize for having an education that they work for, and the countless hours, that they put into it to attain that education. But you have to understand that teaching is a separate skill set from what you're doing. Helping people learn is separate from everything else that you do. That's just like in martial arts. Not every person who's a skilled martial artist and a great martial artist can be a really good teacher. They can't. Not all of them, because they don't have that communication skill. They have no way of taking what they're doing and putting it in a format that someone can understand and learn and attain the same status. And you see it in the scientific community. These are brilliant people. Brilliant people. Nobody knows what the hell they're talking about. And what happens is you use language the way that I just used, and you talk to people where that's not their thing. What happens is they become intimidated by it, frustrated by it, and then they go back to doing something that's not as good for them, like watching the Kardashians or pretty much anything on the E channel or something. And you want more History Channel and less E. for them. So, first of all, understand your audience, understand who you're talking to. And, and I'm not saying that, that these people aren't intelligent. They're very intelligent. For the most part, we'll say that, they're intelligent. Uh, but, look at it this way. This is what we do, and we know all these terms and, and everything else. You take the average person that gets up every morning and goes to work every day and does a job. I'm sure that there's, things in their job and that are terms that are specific to their job that they could be, saying that they understand very well, but we don't, because it's not relevant to us and it's not relevant, to what we do, and we never took the time to learn it because we didn't need to. Well, you have people that are interested in, they become interested, in studying self-defense and everything, and we know all of these terms, and it's relevant to them. But if they don't understand them, then it's not going to be relevant. It's going to be useless, and they're never going to, get the knowledge that they should rightly have. And that's our fault. That's not their fault. They come to us to educate them, and we should be doing our jobs. You know, it reminds me of the old, the Einstein quote, or at least it's attributed to him, about if you judge a fish, by its ability to climb, it'll spend its entire life thinking that it's stupid. So, at the same time, when you're doing this, don't, self-aggrandize and, talk down to these people. They're just as smart as you are, but they studied things that are relevant to them, just like you studied things that are relevant to you. Now, here's the problem. Let's go back to the three things that I said. We were talking about, the logical fallacies and everything that, we didn't think, large portion of people understand. Let's take the first one, a slippery slope. A slippery slope, you see it a lot in politics. And, for the purposes of this, we'll use, logical fallacies as an example. But it's basically, just, kind of some mistakes and stuff that people, make in philosophy about things and that type of deal. But slippery slope, you see it a lot in politics. I remember something. It was some law that Bush passed, years ago, and he was saying that people didn't support that law weren't patriots. It just you take one thing where you start at one point and you come to another one, and you equate this to this, like this and this may be similar, or A and B might be similar, and B and C might be similar, but just because B and C are similar and C and D are similar doesn't mean that A and D are exactly the same, or it doesn't even mean that they're necessarily relevant to each other. And that's like, basically an example of a slippery slope. The best example on American television that you can see of a slippery slope would be the DirecTV commercials. And for our international, audience that comes and visits, you could, find those DirecTV commercials on YouTube. They show them all up there. But the one that comes to mind is it starts out, you're stuck on your phone with a cable company. When you're stuck on the phone with your cable company, then you need to relieve some stress. And when you relieve some stress, sometimes you get injured. And if you get injured, you get an eye patch. And if you get an eye patch, people think you're tough. When people think you're tough, people want to see how tough. When people want to see how tough, you end up laying in a ditch. Don't end up laying in a ditch. Buy DirecTV. And you see it just that's a outlandish example, but that's basically a slippery slope logic, and you see it in smaller things. And like I said, you'll see it in politics all the time. That people use that type of logic to manipulate other people. Be like, what? No, and draw out like emotions in some people, and politicians use it really, really well. Another example would be like gay marriage, where you see like a lot of politicians, you'll stand up there, well if you let women marry women. Next thing you know, people will be marrying animals or marrying their parents or something like that. Well, it's stupid bullshit, you know. But they have this whole boom, 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 in their head where they draw that conclusion. And people that don't know any better and don't realize how they're manipulating them with this fall for that stuff. And but like I said, that's an example of a slippery slope. We've all seen it. We've all experienced it. If you explain it that way, people understand what you're saying. Now it's relevant to them, and you've established relevance, and you're able to communicate with them. And now they've learned something. Um, the other one I believe that we used was a straw man. Straw man, or the straw man fallacy, as it's called. I've had experience with that myself, where I was having a debate with some ass on a thread where we were talking about skilled fighters, and he was saying that when people get mad or whatever, they all attack the same way, or like dominant right hand in general, not exactly the same, but he had like a specific thing he talked about that was the majority, and and me talking about skilled fighters, well, somehow he turned that around into I'm saying that everybody should learn MMA for self-defense, which I never actually said, but he turned that around into that and argued that for some bullshit reason, for his own devices, and it just that once again is very common. Have you ever been arguing with someone and you're having this argument and they say some things that they say something that you didn't actually say in the argument, not to piss anybody off, but men and women have these arguments all the time. Like for example, years ago, I remember I was dating this girl and talking to her on the telephone, and it was 10 o'clock, and I had to get up 4 o'clock the next morning and go to sleep. And so I was like, well, I need to go to sleep. I'm getting up and running. Well, if you don't want to talk to me, just fucking say so. And that's what she said. Well, I never said that, but she used this to create an argument, because the whole thing, because me going to bed at 10 o'clock because I had to get up before was reasonable. So that wasn't, something that she could logically argue about. That made sense. So she had to create this other thing and use that to, start an argument. And that's why, she was soon gone, because she liked to pick fights. And I don't like to argue because I think it's really, really, really stupid. Okay, the next one. But, you explain it that way, people understand it. Once again, it's relevant to them. It makes sense. The last one, ad hominem. It sounds like, what the hell is ad hominem? Well, ad hominem is basically someone's losing an argument. High schoolers see it a lot. You're arguing with somebody, they're losing the argument. So instead of continuing the debate with you, what they do is they just insult you personally, and and do something like that, or do something basically to discredit someone by attacking them in a personal way and ignoring the argument. Like they might say, this person's not trustworthy for this reason, so you can't believe anything that they say, and and just things like that to destroy their credibility. Like once again, by attacking them as a person. We've all experienced those things. All those are relevant to us. So when you're talking to somebody, why not explain it that way? Or if you're going to use that term and inject a new term, don't assume people know what you're talking about. You need to explain yourself at all times so that everyone can benefit, even if it's on a social network, on a thread. The people that are commenting on the thread might understand what you're saying, but there's a lot of people that look at that get intimidated by it, that don't comment on the threads, and they have no friggin' idea what you're talking about. And that's a person that you could have helped, that could have benefited from your knowledge that you didn't do a damn thing for, that now you've made frustrated. And they think the stuff is over their head, and they go back to doing other crap and something that may not be as good. So that's the type of thing that I'm talking about. And and I see that's not being done the way that it should be. And like I said, we're thirsty for knowledge. We always are learning stuff, but you forget we're, we know this stuff because this is what we do. That this is not normal, terminology that other people know. And it could, it don't have to be, those examples. Those are just, some examples. But it could be, like I say, like, in a martial arts thing, some kata or something that, where you understand what all the moves mean. And then you're dogging somebody out that's new because they don't know what they mean, or you're trying to explain it, using Japanese words, but they may be new and haven't learned the terms yet. Just that type of a thing. You've got to explain yourself, and you've got to communicate. And if you don't have the patience to explain yourself, each time to this person, because even though it's not new to you and you're tired of saying the same stuff over and over again, it's the first time they've heard it, so they're not tired of it. If you don't have the patience to do that, get the hell out of the business. You don't have any business getting up in front of anybody trying to teach anybody anything. You're in the wrong line of work. You just need to leave. But, and I hate to say that, but it's true, because you're not helping anyone. You're learning, you're standing up there self-aggrandizing, and you're not doing a damn thing for anybody. But taking somebody's money, and that's just ridiculous. So just get out. Just get out. Leave. Go do something else. And then you can become one of these bitter people sitting around and talking about how everybody else is dumb and you're so smart, when that's really not true. um, but that's me being on my lectern a little bit. But I see that a lot. I see it a lot. People go out and they learn this stuff, and they think that they're just friggin' Einstein, and no. You're not going to help anybody by by going to somebody that you're trying to help that doesn't have the experience that you do, and hasn't done the research that you've done, and explaining something to them and coming off like Dennis Miller being anal raped by a thesaurus. It's not even impressive. They can't even they can't even judge you as being intelligent because they don't know what you're talking about to judge. But you get back to things like, what we talked about with logical fallacies, and gave 3 examples of those terms. In the book, this will actually be the section that has the glossary in it, so you can see all of these terms and understand all of them and use them, because it is important to know these terms, because it helps, when you're doing your own research and trying to find stuff, and it keeps you from making errors. And none of us want to make errors. We want to, do the best that we can do. So for that example, those things are important. You should know them, but you might end up being the person having to teach these terms to these people. So you need to explain them instead of just making assumptions or whatever. Other people have different lives. Their realities are different than yours, and you need to understand that. But that's what I wanted to get across this week, and get out there and make a difference. And I'll see you soon. Thanks.